since the famous Toney long count battle in Chicago 8 years before. Everyone's stunned by the fury of Lewis's attack.
What's happening, my people? It's Cast Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. Now, as usual, before we get started, let me give a shout out to the JBT community. It's just boxing talk. We're a group of people who just love to talk boxing. And we're always looking for others to join us. And you don't have to have a podcast. The only requirement is you just have to love to talk boxing. That's all. Miss Cass, hashtag JBT. The Mighty Rise Podcast, hashtag JBT. Mike Grimm, Mike Mazik. Salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of Cast Sports, The Box Storian. Today, the life and career of James Lights Out Toney. James Lights Out Toney. And you know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's The Box Storian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. How's everybody today? This is the Friday afternoon edition of Cast Sports the Box Historian. Pulled right back up on another weekend and right at the end of another big week of boxing history. And we're going to end it with the profile as usual. Today, James Lights Out Toney. Lights Out JT. James Toney, whatever you want to call him, bad man. And we're going to talk about his life and career today. Now, we've been, since it's Black History Month, this is the first week of Black History Month. All week, we have been calling the highlights of Black boxing. And we're going to continue that today. Next week, we're going to get back into our Ring Magazine's Fight and Fighters of the Year. We're going to do the highlights of Black boxing history like every other week this month. But today, we're going to continue the highlights of Black boxing history. We're going to talk about Sonny Liston. And we're specifically going to talk about exactly why he was considered to be the most feared heavyweight in boxing history. And we're going to hear it from some of his peers, some of the fighters he was in the ring against, and some other fighters that didn't fight him but competed during his era, some of the legendary trainers from back then. We're going to hear from the people that was in the era with him, exactly why he was the most feared heavyweight ever, before or since. Charles Sonny Liston. We're going to talk about him. Highlights of Black boxing history. And then we're going to talk about Lights Out. Now, this highlights of Black boxing history might run a little long, but it's all going to work out. But how's everybody today? Appreciate everybody in the building so far. Got a good one for you today. Cast Sports the Box Historian, bringing you all that boxing history. So let's get started with the highlights of Black boxing history. A little long today, okay? Let's get into that so we can get into JT. Lights out. Okay? So, highlights of Black boxing history. Thank you very much. Okay, let's talk about Charles Sonny Liston, the most feared boxer ever to step into the squared circle. There he is. He had that scowl, 15-inch fists. You know, just think about that. When he balled his fists up, it was 15 inches around. So just picture a ruler, 12-inch ruler. His fist was that big around, plus add 3 more inches to the ruler. Wow, imagine getting hit upside the head by that. Wow, let's talk about it. Stay up there, Sonny. Okay, here we go. Now, what made Sonny Liston the most feared heavyweight ever? Okay? The most terrifying fighter in history is the forgotten great, Sonny Liston. Mike Tyson says flatly, the most powerful, strongest, most intimidating fighter in history was Sonny Liston. Why was he so feared? His life made him harder than any other fighter ever. With an 84-inch reach, his strength and his boxing skills, he administered beatings with a quiet, deadly ferocity. Okay? Only fanboys who know nothing about boxing deny what every fighter and expert maintains to this day, that Sonny Liston was the most feared fighter to ever set foot in a boxing ring. Okay? Now, Fight City agreed with Mike Tyson, making Sonny Liston the most feared and intimidating fighter of all time. And if you ask other boxing figures who date back to Liston's day, and also saw Mike Tyson, George Foreman, and you ask them to compare all three, all agree on who was most intimidating, and all agree on who the most powerful was as well. Sonny Liston, okay? Define Arnie 1 in the building. What's up, Define Arnie 1? We're talking about Charles Sonny Liston. That's he's the subject of our highlights of Black boxing history today. Okay, Black History Month. So, a segment of Black history highlights of boxing history is Black boxing history. Salute fine on anyone. Okay, let's talk some more about Sonny. Now, the legendary trainer Emanuel Stewart said he saw Sonny. He was back around that time. Emanuel said Sonny Liston was the most intimidating fighter of all time. He said Mike Tyson was intimidating, George Foreman was intimidating, but Sonny Liston invented intimidation because unlike George and Mike, Sonny was as mean in real life as he was in the ring, okay? No, that's what Emanuel Stewart said about him. Now, no boxer ever had a harder or rougher upbringing than Sonny Liston did. Sonny was the product of a harsh, unforgiving life. Charles Sonny Liston was born into a sharecropping family, the second youngest child in a combined family of 25 children. Yes, 25 children. He was the second youngest. They farmed the rocky, poor quality land of Moreland Plantation near Johnson Township, St. Francis County, Arkansas. Sonny said, confirmed by other family members, that his father inflicted beatings and whippings so severe on Sonny that the scars were still visible decades later. Okay, decades later, still had the scars from his father beating him. Sonny said, the only thing my old man ever gave me was a beating. The relentlessly sadistic father's whippings left lifelong scars on Sonny. If he missed a day, Sonny said, I'd feel like asking him, how come you didn't whip me today? Johnny Taco, who trained Sonny. Johnny Taco trained Sonny, he trained Mike Tyson, and he trained George Foreman. He said the first time he saw Sonny Liston with his shirt off, he saw the terrible scars on his back, right? And he inquired about them. And Sonny just said, I had harsh dealings with my father. Okay, that's how he explained it. Simple as that. I had harsh dealings with my father. Sonny spoke about his childhood with a flat bitterness. I had nothing when I was a kid but a lot of brothers and sisters, a helpless mother, and a father who didn't care about any of us. We grew up with few clothes, no shoes, little to eat. My father worked me hard and whipped me even harder. Sonny reflected on his childhood later when speaking of prison. Sonny said of prison, at least they fed us three meals a day. Sonny said when he went to prison was the first time he ever ate 3 times in one day, okay? Sonny told Boxing Illustrated in 1964 about his life before prison. He said, on the good days, I ate. On the bad days, I told my stomach to forget it. And Sonny also said, as far back as I can remember, no matter how little I was, no matter if I had anything to eat or not, my father expected me to work from sunup to sundown in those fields. And, Sonny said, after the mule died, his father strapped him to the plow and made him pull it, okay? And Sonny said, if I didn't pull it hard enough, he whipped me. And he said, if I pulled it hard enough, he still whipped me, okay? And Sonny said, if he didn't whip me, I thought something was wrong. Beaten and abused as a child, Sonny grew up to stay in trouble, and even in prison, other inmates were terrified of Sonny. They walked lightly around him, afraid to make him mad. Sonny grew up in a world with no kindness and no forgiveness, and he gave none to anyone other than the few people he loved or trusted. Sonny grew up in a world with no kindness and no forgiveness, and he gave none. to anyone. Okay? Sonny was the most feared and avoided heavyweight in history. Okay? 14 top fighters ranked in the top 150 of all time by BoxRec. 10 of them in the top 100 flat out refused to fight Sonny Liston. When Sonny Liston challenged Joe Frazier, Joe accepted, but his team vetoed the fight. Okay? Joe Frazier agreed to fight him, but Joe Frazier's team said no way. The legendary trainer Eddie Futch summed up the difference between Mike Tyson, George Foreman, and Sonny Liston when it came to intimidation. He said, Mike and George, explained Eddie, adopted the baleful looks and grim demeanor. They saw it work to intimidate, and they used that. But Sonny, Eddie Futch said, with Sonny, it was real. That was the real Sonny. He wasn't doing it to intimidate people. That was just him. Legendary trainer Ray Arcel noted about Sonny. Sonny Liston didn't just look mean, he was mean. And he was happy to show folks he was mean. Henry Cooper, the European and British heavyweight champion, who twice fought Muhammad Ali and had a who's who of opponents in the 50s and 60s. Yeah, Henry Cooper had one of those Oscar resumes back then. But it was one name glaringly missing from Henry Cooper's resume. That was Sonny Liston. And when Henry Cooper was asked why Sonny wasn't on his resume, Henry Cooper said, I don't even want to see Sonny walking down the street, let alone in a boxing ring, okay? Henry said he flat out wasn't fighting Sonny. Okay? Zora Farley, perennial heavyweight contender from Rocky Marciano's time to Ali's, who fought and was knocked out by Sonny, said, I was lucky. Sonny didn't dislike me, so he just beat me up a little. George Foreman said, 40-year-old Sonny Liston. George sparred with Sonny in the late 60s, early in his professional career. He said Sonny Liston was the only man who could ever force me to back up by sheer brute strength in the ring, okay? George said, I was afraid of Joe Frazier. Every man is afraid of a man like that if he has sense. But with Sonny Liston, I was always real careful not to make him angry. Sonny was something special. Rocky Marciano said of Sonny Liston, he isn't faking his toughness, and his strength is just something you got to see. And that jab, he can knock a man out with the jab. I would not care to have been in the ring with him. That was Rocky Marciano, one of the toughest fighters of all time. Said he wouldn't have got in the ring with Sonny Liston. Now, interestingly, Sonny actually respected Rocky Marciano, and he liked him as much as he did anyone. And Sonny did not respect or like too many people. But he said of Rocky Marciano, Sonny said, Rocky was a great champion. He was never defeated, and he refused to be defeated. To Sonny Liston, being tough made you a man. Floyd Patterson, who Sonny knocked out in back-to-back fights in the first round. Floyd Patterson was asked once by a reporter, who was the hardest man he had ever been punched by, right? Floyd Patterson said Ingemar Johansson. And the surprised reporter said, you fought Sonny Liston, what about Sonny? And Floyd Patterson said, oh, I thought you meant someone I had a chance of beating. Okay. Mike Tyson studied Sonny Liston and Jack Dempsey for their ability to intimidate an opponent. And Mike is a lot smarter than people credit him for. And he once said, If you can make your opponent afraid, he is beat before he even gets in the ring with you. Mike said Sonny Liston was the best at that. Look what he did to Floyd Patterson. And Liston said he knew Patterson was beat when Floyd refused to meet his eyes during the weigh-in. And after the fight, Patterson bought a fake beard and a disguise so he could sneak out of the Chicago arena after Sonny took his title from him. Sonny Liston did things no boxer has done before him or since. Okay, now listen to this. Sonny's 1958 to 1960 march to the title is a feat unmatched by Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, George Foreman, Mike Tyson, or anyone else. Okay, now listen. The top 10 contenders at that time, 1958 to 60, Sonny knocked out 7 of them in less than 2 years. And he fought 8 of the top 10 contenders in a 2-year period, knocked out 7 of them. And the only reason he didn't knock out the 8th one, because the 8th one ran for his life the entire fight. Sonny fought every top 10 contender who would face him. And his destruction of the top 10 contenders on his march to the title in 1958 to 1960 is unmatched in history. From 1958 to 1960, no one did what Sonny did. 8 of the top 10 contenders fought him. He knocked out 7 of them. And the 8th one ran the entire fight. And this was just in a 2-year period. Okay? Sonny's march to the title and his complete destruction of the top 10 contenders had never been done before and hasn't been done since in any weight class. Emanuel Stewart, who loved boxing from the time he was a child, said, I watched Sonny Liston when I was a teenager do something that I've never seen any heavyweight do. Walk through the entire division almost from being the number 110 guy all the way up to the champion because he was that devastating. Okay? Only Ingemar Johansson and Henry Cooper of those fighters rated in the top 10 during that time escaped beatings by Liston. And the only reason they escaped beatings by him was because they refused to fight him. Okay? Henry Cooper flat out admitted he wasn't getting in the ring with Sonny. Ingemar Johansson didn't say it publicly, but he felt the same way. He just wasn't doing it. Okay? And those 8 contenders, 8 of those 8 contenders of their top 10 during that period had a combined record of 419 wins with 99 losses. And bear in mind that 13 of those losses came to Sonny. Nino Valdez, one of those destroyed in Sonny's march to the title during that time, lay dying of cancer. And he spoke about his fight against Sonny. He said, cancer doesn't hurt anywhere near as much as getting hit by Sonny. No other fighter in history has destroyed the top 10 the way Sonny did before or since. Emanuel Stewart thought Sonny of his march to the title could beat any heavyweight ever, including Muhammad Ali. Emanuel said, when the matchup came up in 1964, it was just perfect timing for Ali and terrible timing for Sonny. Ali was young and is going toward his prime, and Sonny was over. Sonny was almost, it was rumored that Sonny was 40 years old at that time, okay? Historian Monty Cox said about Liston, no one else in boxing history knocked out an undisputed heavyweight champion in the first round, back to back. Sonny did it to Floyd Patterson, back to back. No one else in heavyweight history has done that. Sonny's power has never been equaled in the boxing ring. Sonny Liston had the hardest one-punch shot based on what he did to other fighters and what fighters who knew him said about it. Boxing historian Monty Cox wrote that Liston was made to be a fighter. His physical attributes bordered on the freakish. At barely 6 foot 1 inch tall, he had an 84-inch reach, longer than that of all other champions with the exception of Primo Carnera. Sonny's neck was a massive 18 inches. But the number that leaps off the page, the statistic that looks initially like a typo, is that which corresponds to his hands, like I was talking about a minute ago. When closed into a fist, Sonny's fist measured 15 inches around, okay? To contemplate the impact of a fist that large, delivered over a distance that great, from a man so determined to do damage, would give even the bravest opponent pause. Like I was saying, just imagine a ruler, 12 inches long, add 3 more inches to it. That's how big his fist measured around. A 12-inch ruler plus 3 more inches. Okay? Incredible. Now, George Foreman said again, Ant McQueen in the building. What's up, Ant? That's right. Lights Out coming up right after Sonny Liston. Highlights of Black boxing history. We're just talking about why Sonny Liston is the most dangerous heavyweight ever, in the words of some of the people that was in that period that he fought in, talking about it. And George Foreman said, sparring with Sonny Liston is the most dangerous thing that I ever did in my entire life. As I said earlier, no matter what I tried against him, it was me who had to revert back to boxing. Nobody ever made me box like Sonny Liston did, and that happened every time we worked together. He taught me many things, including the importance of the jab. And George went on to say, I just couldn't get mine straight, and every day he had me working on it. There were times when he could have knocked my head off, but he didn't because we were pretty good friends. I saw the way he stared at people, and I took on some of that behavior to intimidate opponents. That was where some of that bad George came from, hanging around Sonny Liston. And George also says, Sonny was the only man in his life ever able to force him backwards by sheer brute strength. Okay? Now, a combination of Sonny's extraordinary boxing ability, his reach, and his pinpoint accuracy allowed him to deliver kill shots outside the range of almost every opponent he faced. He had an 84-inch reach, remember? Zora Farley said, you can't believe how strong Sonny is until you feel it. Now, a good example of Sonny's sheer strength was an exercise he devised in training camp, uploading an industrial-sized wheelbarrow full of rocks and wheeling it uphill, up and down a hill. And George Foreman was 19, fresh from winning the gold medal in the Olympics in Mexico City in 1968, working with Sonny Liston, who by that time was in his 40s, going up against 19-year-old George Foreman. And George was asked who the strongest fighter he ever saw was, and he answered, not even thinking about it, Sonny Liston. And George said, not just the strongest fighter, the strongest man, period, I ever saw. Cleveland Williams said, no human being hits as hard as Sonny Liston. You cannot describe his strength. It's almost unfair for a man to be that strong. Ingemar Johansson promoted Sonny's fights in Sweden in the 1960s, and Ingemar was asked if he would face the much older Sonny Liston, and Ingemar replied, I will promote him. I will not fight him. Okay? Ingemar said, I will promote him. I will not fight him. Okay, don't get it twisted. I'm promoting him in Sweden. Okay? Okay, Chuck Webner. Chuck Webner is my best chin in boxing history. Sonny Liston's final fight was with Chuck Webner, and Sonny was at least 42 years old at the time. Nobody knew his correct age because he had a couple different birthdays. But when he fought Chuck Webner, late 60s, he was at least 42 years old. And he mopped up the floor with Chuck, who would later fight Ali for the title. Chuck Webner said about Sonny, Chuck Webner says Sonny Liston made George Foreman look like Mr. Friendly. Okay? Made Big George look like Mr. Friendly. Chuck went on to say that being hit by Foreman was like being hit by an unbelievably strong man. But being hit by Sonny Liston was like being hit by a baseball bat. Okay? Chuck also said no one ever hit him harder than Sonny Liston. And he wasn't exaggerating as he walked out of that fight with Liston with a broken nose, a broken cheekbone, and 72 stitches. And remember, Sonny was at least 42 years old when that fight took place. Okay? Sonny Liston knocked out tough fringe contender Wayne Bethea, who had never been stopped and only off his feet once in his entire career. And he claimed that was a slip. Okay? That was his life prior to fighting Sonny Liston. And Liston, now this man had never been stopped in his career, never been knocked down once, and he said that was a slip. But get this. Sonny knocked him out in 69 seconds. Okay? 69 seconds of the first round. This man had never been stopped, knocked down once, and he said it was a slip. Sonny knocked him out in 69 seconds. And Liston, when he stopped it there, he knocked out 7 teeth and broke 9 more. Knocked 7 out and broke 9 more. 16 teeth knocked out or broken. And get this, it was just one punch, okay? It was one punch. And get this, that punch was a jab. Okay, it was a jab. And then Bethea said he had to hit me with a horseshoe in his glove. Nor was that the only time Sonny hit men with unbelievable power that eclipses anything Mike Tyson or anyone else has done. In the mid-60s, Sonny sparred with Ray Schoninger in Denver. He hit Ray with a jab so hard that the stitching in Ray's protective headgear literally tore apart. Right? The headgear came apart with the blow, and the blow went through the headgear and knocked out 3 teeth. And again, it was a jab. Okay? Sonny's fighting skill was evidence out of the ring as well. He never minded throwing down in the streets either, if he felt disrespected. Sonny was a proud man, and he chafed at the way the police treated him, and he was not afraid to show it. In one early incident, he made his disdain for the police clear while demonstrating his remarkable strength. Okay? Sonny started the fight with the policeman. He beat the policeman senseless, snatched his gun, picked the policeman up, and threw him into an alley. Then he walked away smiling, whistling, wearing the policeman's hat. Another time, he took a gun away from a police officer who was harassing him, right? Beat the officer up, broke his knee, picked him up over his head, and threw him into a dumpster. For that one, Sonny was sent to the city work farm and was locked up and out of boxing for nearly 2 years. Only the fact the police did not want the harassment of Sonny to be publicized saved him from decades in prison. Yeah, something like that. Both of those would have landed in prison for a long time. Okay, but haters continue to lie about Sonny. For instance, one fanboy writes, light heavyweight Marty Marshall fought Sonny. Marshall weighed 180 pounds for Sonny, but he fought him at 175, right? And he beat Liston the first time. because at the time, Liston was a prospect at that time, and Marshall was a veteran fighter. But none of that was true. He wasn't that small. Marshall was not a small light heavyweight. He was 6'1.5" and a rock hard 180 pounds. And he was a top 10 light heavyweight at the time. And Sonny only had 7 pro fights. Marshall had 27 pro fights. And he came in at 180 pounds to Sonny's 204. And he broke Sonny's law because Marshall made Sonny laugh in the 4th round. And while Sonny was laughing, Marshall hit him in the mouth while his mouth was open and broke his jaw. And he landed again in the 6th round and broke the jaw in the 2nd major break. Nonetheless, Sonny fought 4 more rounds with a broken jaw in 2 places and still only lost by split decision. In the rematch, Sonny was not laughing, and he beat Marty to a pulp, knocking him down 4 times on the way to a 6th round stop. In the 3rd fight, Marty took the fight at the last minute as a substitute for Harold Johnson with the intention of running for his life, which he cheerfully admitted that he was going to run. It's a shame that people continually lie about Sonny. And they lie about him to this day to diminish his legacy, okay? And for all the reasons listed above, Sonny Liston was the most feared and avoided fighter in boxing history, okay? So now let's get to James Lights Out Toney for the profile for today. Yeah, Sonny Liston, most feared heavyweight, most feared fighter, not just heavyweight, most feared fighter in boxing history. Okay, y'all ready for Lights Out? Here we go. James Lights Out, the life and career of James Lights Out Toney. I think, oh, never mind. We're going to counsel Toney until next. No, Jack, just kidding. Just kidding. There we go. Here we go. All right. The life and career of James Lights Out Toney. Now, James Nathaniel Toney was born August 24th, 1968. Former American professional boxer. He competed from 1988 to 2017. That's 29 years, okay? Now, Lights Out held multiple world championships in 3 weight classes, including the IBF and lineal middleweight titles from 1991 to 1993. He had the IBF super middleweight title from 1993 to 1994, and the IBF cruiserweight title in 2003. Toney also challenged twice for a world heavyweight title in 2005 and 2006. And he was victorious the first time, 2005, but he was later stripped due to a failed drug test. Overall, he competed in 15 world title fights across 4 weight classes. We're going to touch on these fights more a little bit later. That's a brief little rundown right now. Now, Lights Out, he fought in also called the Dark Emperor, but more commonly known as Lights Out. He was 5'9" tall, okay? He had a reach of 74 inches, fought in the orthodox stance. And overall, he fought at middleweight, super middleweight, light heavyweight, cruiserweight, and heavyweight. 5 divisions, was champion in 3 of them. 4 really, but they stripped him of heavyweight, okay? Now, he had a total of 92 fights in his career. He won 77. He lost 10. He had 3 draws, 2 no contests, 47 wins by way of knockout. Lights Out, okay? Now, stylistically, a defensive boxer, Toney utilized the shoulder roll technique taught to him by veteran trainer Bill Miller, who had once trained heavyweight champion Ezra Charles. Now, Toney was an exceptional counterpuncher, an inside fighter, who often preferred to fight off the ropes. He possessed fast hand speed and respectable punching power throughout his career. And he's also noted for his toughness, having never lost any of his 92 professional fights by stoppage. Okay? 92 fights, never stopped. Okay? In 1991 and 2003, Toney was voted Fighter of the Year by the Ring Magazine and the Boxing Writers Association of America. Ring Magazine is the big one. He won that award twice. Okay? And we're going to look at that next week. We're going to go back to the Fighting Fighters of the Year, and we're going to go over exactly what he did those years, okay? Like we came all the way from the 20s. We stopped at the 70s. We're going to get back to it next week. In 2011, the Ring Magazine ranked Toney as 10th on their list of the 10 best middleweight title holders of the last 50 years. He has also made a one-time appearance in mixed martial arts, losing to Randy Couture at UFC 118. We're going to cover that later too. Yep, he did fight in mixed martial arts, one fight, right? In 2001, Toney played the role of Joe Frazier in the movie Ali, alongside Will Smith. Yeah, Lights Out was in that. Y'all know that? He was in Ali. When Will Smith played Ali, yeah. Lights Out played Joe Frazier. Sure did. Yep. Okay, let's look at James Toney early life. Okay. Now, Toney was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan. At around age 11, he first entered a boxing gym, but did not seriously pursue the sport until graduating high school. Now, growing up, Toney lived alongside the families of Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Buster Mathis Jr. And Toney's father himself was absent for Toney's upbringing, but his father was also a boxer, right? As a teen, Toney was often involved in street fights and sold crack cocaine. Now, prior to his career in boxing, Toney was also a star football player. And after high school, he received scholarship offers from Western Michigan to play quarterback, and from the University of Michigan to play as a defensive back. Yeah, had a scholarship to the Wolverines as a defensive back. But Toney, he wasn't good at taking orders, so he went into boxing. Okay. Yeah, Toney said he didn't take up those scholarship orders because I wasn't a team player and I wasn't good at taking orders. So I went into boxing, individual sport, right? Toney also lost a significant amount of weight to begin his boxing career, having weighed 205 pounds, during his high school football career and everything, yeah. So he lost a lot of weight because he started out at middleweight, 160. But before his boxing career, he weighed as much as 205 pounds, okay? Now, Toney was supposedly involved in an altercation with future Pro Football Hall of Famer Deion Sanders while at a Michigan training camp. So he did go and work out for the Wolverines. Supposedly had a altercation with Deion Sanders. Yeah, Deion went to Florida State, remember? Let's look at Lights Out amateur career. We're going to get into his professionals. All right. Okay, amateur career. Now, Toney had a brief but relatively successful amateur career. He had a record of 33 wins, 2 losses. 32 of those wins was by knockout. Wow. Not bad. Especially for amateurs. 96.9%. That's what I say, 97%. 33 wins as an amateur, 32 by way of knockout. Wow, only 2 losses. Toney had his first professional fight on October 26, 1988, beating Stephen Lee by a technical knockout in the second round. As a teenager, Toney was scouted and trained by Gregory Owens, who also was his trainer through the mid 90s. His moniker and lifestyle was also given by either Gregory or his son. In his seventh pro fight, Toney's manager, Johnny A. Smith, was killed. Afterwards, Jackie Callan was hired as his manager. Toney also employed the services of legendary Detroit-based trainer Bill Miller. Miller, a former boxer himself, who worked in Detroit's famed Kronk Gym and assisted Hall of Fame trainer Emanuel Stewart at times, is credited with developing Toney's famed old school or throwback style of fighting. Okay? Now, professional career for lights out. Okay? Middleweight. Started out as a middleweight, 160 pounder. Okay? Toney won the IBF and lineal middleweight titles by knocking out Michael Nunn in 11 rounds in May 1991. Yeah, that's him and Michael right there. Knocked Michael out in May 1991. Now, Toney came into this fight as a 20-1 underdog, right? And he was down on all three judges' scorecards, but he landed a left hook that put Nunn on the canvas in the 11th round and eventually scored a stoppage victory. And the win also earned Toney the Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year, okay, for 1991. He won two of them. First one was 1991, okay? Now, Toney continued a regular fight program over the next 18 months at middleweight before outgrowing the division, where he made several successful yet disputed defenses. The most noteworthy was Toney's split decision win over Dave Tiberi. Yeah, there's him and Dave. The most noteworthy defense was a split decision over Dave Tiberi in a fight that many experts feel Toney lost. Now, the decision was so controversial that it prompted United States Senator William Roth of Delaware to call for an investigation into possible corruption in the sport of boxing. Now, Toney also won, and that fight, it was in Atlantic City, New Jersey. They had two judges that wasn't even licensed to judge in New Jersey, okay? So that's what really prompted that senator to look into it. But Toney still kept the win and retained his title, okay? Now, oh shoot, what happened? Dave Tiberi. Okay, Toney also won a split decision title defense against Reggie Johnson in June 1991. Retained his title with a draw against former WBA champion Mike McCallum in December 1991. Okay. And again against McCallum, this time by a majority decision in December 1992. And the second McCallum fight would be Toney's last as a middleweight. Then he went up to super middleweight, okay? Went to super middleweight. On February 13th, 1993, Toney challenged Iran Barkley for the IBF super middleweight title. After a dominating performance by Toney, the fight was stopped after 9 rounds by Barkley's trainer, Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, due to Barkley suffering severe swelling around both eyes. Okay? So then, Toney won 5 fights throughout 1993, then defeating Toney the Punching Post Man Thornton in his first title defense in October by a landslide points victory. In his second defense, Toney beat the 24-0 Jim Littles by a 4th round knockout. During this fight, Toney suffered a bad cut, which caused the referee and ringside doctor to intervene before round 4. And they allowed Toney one more round to try to end the fight. And he got the knockout, okay? in the very next round. His next defense was against former IBF light heavyweight champion Prince Charles Williams. Despite having a point deducted for hitting Williams after the bell in one round and having his left eye completely swollen shut, Toney knocked Williams out in the 12th and final round. Okay? And this win paved the way for his fight with undefeated 1988 Olympic silver medalist Roy Jones Jr. Toney versus Roy Jones Jr. Now, Jones won a landslide decision over Toney, an upset at the time, briefly flooring Toney for the first time with a flash knockdown in the third round. Jones used one of his cockfighting feints to lure Toney in, and as Toney mocked Jones, Toney got caught with a leaping left hook, the famous Roy Jones leaping left hook. After the fight, Toney blamed making the weight for his flat performance, okay? Blamed making the weight for it, had to lose all that weight for his flat performance and the loss of his cherished unbeaten record. That was his first loss. Also, the first time he went down was in that fight. And that was his last fight at super middleweight. He went up to light heavyweight, okay? In his next fight, saw him lose to Montel Griffin at light heavyweight. Cruiserweight, and even heavyweight. He again faced Montel Griffin in December 1996 and once again lost a close decision. Okay? He beat old foe Mike McCallum in February 1997, but then lost to journeyman Drake Dadsey in his next fight. Okay, cruiserweight. After taking some time off from the ring, Toney came back in 1999, seemingly focused on reclaiming his status as an elite fighter. He defeated former title holders and title contenders Adolfo Washington, Steve Little, Ramon Garvey, Saul Montana, Theone Asapelli, Courtney Butler, and Michael Rush. In August 2002, Toney beat Jason Robinson in an IBF Cruiserweight title eliminator fight. This set up a fight between Toney and the champion, Vasily Gerard. That was the one Defiant Arnie turned me on to. That was a very good fight. Him and Vasily Gerard. Okay. Al Booger. What's up, AB? How are you today? James Lights Out Toney today. Working our way through his professional career. Up to the point. He's at cruiserweight now, right? You remember Vasily Gerard was at cruiserweight? Yeah, he's at Vasily Gerard, right? Cruiserweight. He won a title eliminator fight against Jason Robinson, and that's what got him the shot for the IBF title at cruiserweight against Vasily Gerard. Great fight. After a postponement, the fight happened on April 26, 2003. Now, going into the 12th and final round, with the scores fairly even and the fight in the balance, Toney knocked the undefeated Gerard down in the 12th round. Now, Gerard rose from the canvas to go the distance, but Toney got the judge's verdict and was now a 3-weight world champion. Okay? That was his third weight division. Middleweight, super middleweight, cruiserweight. Yep. For Toney's performance, he was awarded Comeback of the Year and he got his second Fighter of the Year award, okay? Now, the fight itself was named Fight of the Year by the Ring magazine. So it was Fighter of the Year and he won Fighter of the Year for Vasily Gerard. Yeah, Defiant Arnie. That had to be a great one. It was Fighter of the Year and Toney got Fighter of the Year. I did not know that. I watched that with Defiant Arnie told me about it. I did not know until this morning that he got Fighter of the Year and Fighter of the Year. And Fighter of the Year, that fight had a lot to do with it, right? And immediately after the fight, Toney moved up to heavyweight. It was his last fight at cruiserweight, where he campaigned for the next 7 years. Okay? So let's talk about Toney at heavyweight now. Up there with the big boys. Hardcore boxing news, #JBT. What's up, J Hardcore? We're talking about James Lights Out Toney today. He's now up to heavyweight. This is his 5th division. Three division champion, but he competed in 5 divisions altogether. He was really a 4 division champion because he did win the title at heavyweight, but he got stripped because he failed the drug test after the fight. But let's talk about it. This is coming up. Okay? Heavyweight. As far back as Toney's middleweight years, he insisted that he would one day be the heavyweight champion of the world. He always said that, right? Now, his October 4th, 2003 win over aging former heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield. Here's him and Evander. His win over aging heavyweight champion, former champion Evander Holyfield, was Toney's entry into the heavyweight division. That was his first fight there against Evander. After a shaky first round, Toney picked apart Holyfield with shots to the body and head before stopping him in the 9th round. After the fight, Toney declared he was indestructible. Okay? Your Lights Out said he was indestructible after he picked Holyfield apart. That he got milk, baby, and he didn't want any bad-ass questions from announcer Jim Gray. Remember that? Yeah. Jim Gray always asking stupid questions or saying something stupid. Remember Tank was saying, always Tank says, my Glock stay loaded or something, Tank says. Jim Gray, oh, don't say that with the shootings we just had at the schools. Shut the hell up, Jim Gray. Yeah, always saying something dumb. Is he still doing it? I haven't seen him on. He was with Showtime. I don't think he went with Prime. Is Jim on Prime now? I don't know. Okay, we'll see. Now, on September 23rd, 2004, Toney faced off with Rydell Booker. Excuse me for a minute. Rydell Booker. Yeah, okay. Yeah. On September 23rd, 2004, Lights Out faced off with Rydell Booker. Now, although Toney injured his left arm, he was still able to defeat the clearly outmatched Booker, getting a 12-round unanimous decision for the fringe IBA heavyweight title, International Boxing Association, a minor title. Now, on April 30th, 2005, Toney defeated John Ruiz by unanimous decision in a 12-round match for the World Boxing Association Heavyweight Championship, the WBA. However, Toney failed his post-fight drug test, testing positive for the anabolic steroid stanozolol. I got that right, stanozolol, right? This led to the New York Athletic Commission changing the fight's official outcome to a no contest. He had 2 no contests during his career. That was one of them. That deducted the win from Lights Out career record, and it banned him from boxing for 90 days, right? And the WBA also ordered that John Ruiz be reinstated as its champion, and that Toney be ineligible for another WBA heavyweight title shot for 2 years. Wow. So he couldn't fight for 90 days, and he couldn't fight for the WBA title for 2 years. Wow, that's harsh punishment. Ryan only got 1 year. Okay. Very interesting. Let's move on. Now, he couldn't fight for another heavyweight title for 2 years. They socked the 2 Lights Out. Wow. Now, Toney defended himself, defended that failed drug test by claiming that the steroids were given to him by a doctor to treat the arm injury he suffered during the Rydell Booker fight. Wouldn't the doctor have told him what he was giving him? And, he should have reported that before the fight, right? I guess. I don't know. I'm just, I don't know. I'm just a contractor. But I mean, if the doctor gave him something, he would have told him what he given him, and then, he should have reported that. But maybe he didn't know it was illegal. I don't know. Okay, but anyway, in his fight after the Ruiz fight, Toney won a unanimous decision victory over former heavyweight champion Dominique Dominique Gwynn. And he next fought against Hasim Rockman on March 18, 2006 for the WBC heavyweight title. He could fight for the other sanctioning by just the WBA for 2 years. Now, the result was a 12-round majority draw. So I think Rockman had it, so I believe the title didn't change hands. The only one he had at heavyweight was the WBA, the one he got stripped. He fought for the WBC, but he fought Rockman to a draw, so he never got that one, okay? But he was a champion at heavyweight briefly, until the drug test. So then, Toney's, that's him and Samuel Peter right there. Okay, let me come down a little bit. Okay, here we go. Al Booker says, Jim Gray he is, Al Booker. He has gotten better in recent years. I used to really hate him. And in baseball too, all sports, Jim Gray was just a jerk, man. One time, when Pete Rose had got banned from baseball, he said some bad stuff about Pete, and then it was a playoff game, and the Yankees wouldn't let him interview him after the game. They said, in respect to Pete, we're not giving you no interviews. They got fined and stuff, but they got this rule that, the press get to call out, just like football, but they get to call out certain players. And, it's in your contract. You got to come out there in that press room and get that interview. But the Yankees told Jim, we ain't give you no interviews. And they didn't. But they got fined for it. Yeah. But I loved that when they did that, man. They left Jim standing there looking stupid. They made their point. It was worth the fine. Yeah. That was years ago. Back when Derek Jeter and all them was on the Yankees. A-Rod, Bernie Williams. Yeah, all them. Remember them days? Okay. Now, after Toney's next 2 outings were losses. First to Samuel Peter, okay? The first fight was held in Los Angeles, California on September 2nd, 2006. Toney lost by split decision, okay? Fought Peter twice. The second fight was held in Hollywood, Florida on January 6, 2007. And Toney once again lost to Peter, this time by unanimous decision. And both fights were WBC eliminator fights for the belt held by Oleg Moskayev. Yeah, so he never did get back to a heavyweight title shot because he couldn't fight for the WBA for 2 years. And he fought Rockman for the WBC. It was a draw. And then he fought the title eliminator against Peter twice and lost both of them. Yeah, so he never got back to the title shot at heavyweight. But he does go back down, but I'm getting ahead of myself now. Okay. After the Peter fight, his next fight came on December 13th, still at heavyweight now, 2008 against Fres Oquendo. Now, Oquendo was penalized 1 point in round 8 for a rabbit punch, right? Which would prove to be the deciding factor in the fight. Yep, because he lost that point, and Toney won a close, controversial split decision. If he wouldn't have lost that point, he probably would have got the split, Probably would have got 2 of the judges. On September 12th, 2009, Toney fought heavyweight fighter Matthew Greer at the Pitcairn Resort and Casino. And Toney won by TKO victory in the second round. Okay. On February 24th, 2011, Lightsaw made his return to boxing. He took a little time off. Then he came back in 2011. Okay. He took like 2 years off for that last fight against who was that? Oquendo? No, Matthew Greer was in 2009. Took a couple years off. February 24th, 2011, he made his return, right, to boxing and won a 10-round unanimous decision against Damon Reed. Now, all 3 judges scored the fight. He threw a shutout, 190. For this fight, Toney weighed in at a career high of 257 pounds. Yeah, that was when he blew up in weight a little. Career high, 257. And then after that, He returned to cruiserweight. Okay? Returned to cruiserweight. Went up against Dennis Lebedev. Returned to cruiserweight. After stepping back down to cruiserweight on November 4th, 2011, Toney stepped into the ring at 199 pounds. That was the lowest he had been since 2003. So back-to-back fights, he went from the highest he ever weighed back down to the lowest he had been in like 10 years, okay? 257, the next fight, 199. Lowest he had been since 2003. This was against Russian star Dennis Lebedev. Fight was in Russia, and it was for the interim WBA cruiserweight title. And Toney was never competitive in this fight after encountering problems with his left knee in the second round. And the judges, now he threw a shutout in his last fight. This time he got shut out. All three judges had it, 120, 108 for Lebedev. Wow. A week after the fight, it was revealed Toney needed surgery to repair his knee. Okay, but he did make it through the whole fight. He hurt his knee in the second round, but he made it through the entire fight. After that, he went back to heavyweight again, okay? On April 7th, 2012, he fought Bobby Gunn, okay? He fought Bobby Gunn. And won by a fifth round stoppage due to a hand injury sustained by Gunn, okay? Gunn had a hand injury. This fight was recognized as a world title by the IBU, International Boxing Union, a minor boxing organization. So he did get another title at heavyweight, but it was minor, the IBU, International Boxing Union, okay? Excuse me. So now, excuse me for a minute. It's okay if I take a drink. Thank you. How's everybody today? It's Friday. The meet and greet is what? What's today? The 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th. 3 weeks exactly. Mm-hmm. Right? 7th to the 14th, 21st, 28th. 3 weeks exactly to the meet and greet. Y'all ready? You know, all the big famous JBT content creators like Jay Hardcore and Just Do Boxing, Senior and Squeeze from the Mighty Rise podcast, Aunt McQueen, Thomas Hill talking about flying in from California. That's worth the price of admission right there, the legendary Thomas Hill, all the way from California. And small potatoes like Cass Sports. Miss Cass gonna be there too, another big wig, right? And yeah, all the JBT content creators, it's gonna be a great time. Door prizes. Now the special is over, the $20 special is over, so $30, but still you get a chance to win that ticket to the fight the next day. Or you can pay $10 and get a ticket. Get the special, $25 for 3 tickets. So yeah, pull up, man. It's gonna be a great time. February 28th, 3 weeks from today. 3 weeks from today. Now where were we? Yeah, Toney traveled to Australia in April 2013 to face Lucas Brown for the WBF heavyweight title, another minor one. Now Toney lost this fight by wide unanimous decision. 7 months later, on November 14th, he traveled to London, England to compete in the heavyweight prize fight series held at the, this was a special UK versus USA tournament. Remember that one? Yeah. With 6 fighters facing off in 3-round fights. That's 3-round fights. Now in the quarterfinal, Toney faced English journeyman Matt Legg, and he won by TKO in the 3rd round. It was just 3 rounds, and he got Legg out of there in the 3rd round. Okay. He advanced to the semifinals. In the semifinals, he faced fellow Americans. You know, because once you get into it, you have to face Americans. Whoever advanced, right? It started out UK versus USA, but then once you get into the tournament, whoever advances. So he faced fellow American in the semifinals, Jason Gavin, and he lost by majority decision. And, you know, single fight, 1 fight, you gone. So he was eliminated from the tournament, okay? His final fight came on May 13th, 2017. He fought in parts of 29 years, 1988 to 2017. Almost a 30-year career by Lights Out, man. Longevity. First ballot Hall of Famer. His final fight came on May 13th, 2017, at the age of 48. Okay, 48. He defeated Mike Shepard by 6-round stoppage, winning the WBF heavyweight title. But he had that before. He must have vacated or something. After a career spanning 29 years and 92 professional fights, Lights Out confirmed he is officially retired. Okay, James Lights Out Toney. Yeah, he said, I'm out of here. But he had an exhibition fight. Let's talk about his exhibition fight now, okay? I got to call you too, Jay. Okay? I ain't want to bother you, but yeah, it's important. Now, Toney made a comeback to the ring at age, get this, 55 on November 11th, 2023, when he fought 59-year-old. And look at these two, man. They should have just, oh man, they should have, I'm sorry, Aunt. They should have just made this WWF, World Wrestling Federation. Look at him. Look at him and Razor Reddick, man. This Lights Out on the left, Razor Reddick on the right. Look like Hulk, Andre the Giant, and the Undertaker. I'm sorry. But yeah, he did come back. He was 55, November 11, 2023. Razor Reddick was 59, almost old as me. Damn. And Razor was a former top-ranked heavyweight contender, right? And this fight was back in the day. This fight was in Kingston, Jamaica. And the fight went all 6 rounds and was scored a draw, with the first 2 rounds being a standard of 3 minutes, while the last 4 were shortened to 2 minutes. Both men were criticized for their lousy athletic appearances and sluggish, slow pace, as both were clearly showing their senior age. Nevertheless, the fight went the distance. Yeah, him and Razor Reddick. James Lights Out Toney, legendary 29-year career. Okay, International Boxing Hall of Famer. Let's look at Lights Out's boxing style. Okay, we're gonna look at some of the other great fighters of his era too. When we finish this, some of the other great fighters of the 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. Let's look at Lights Out's fighting style. Okay? Now, James Lights Out Toney is well known for his old school or throwback style of fighting, which consisted of frequent head movement and shoulder rolls to avoid punches, as well as his ability to fight off the ropes using slick upper body movement and infighting. As such, he is said to have possessed a very high ring IQ. Although Toney was considered a defensive fighter by many, he still applied pressure to his opponents and usually forced his style against them. In some ways, Lights Out could be considered a defensive pressure fighter, okay? A defensive pressure fighter. Wow. Now, because of his experience, defensive skills, and extremely durable chin, yeah, he had a great chin. He was never stopped in his 29-year professional career and was rarely knocked down. I can only remember once. It might have been more, but I can only remember him being knocked down once. That was in was that Montel Griffin? I think it was Montel Griffin. I think he fought Montel 2 or 3 times. I think Montel knocked him down. He might have went down, rarely knocked down. That's the only time I can remember that one time. Ant probably know, but I can only remember once. But never stopped. 29 years, 92 fights. Lights Out was never stopped. Now he got into mixed MMA, mixed martial arts. Okay, let's talk about that. He did get into mixed martial arts during his career. Melanin Queen 27 in the building. What's up, Melanin Queen? The superstar, okay? Moderator of moderators. She is redefined what a moderator is, okay? Salute Melanin Queen 27. How are you today? I'm glad you are here. And she got everything you need to know about this meet and greet right there. You can hit that link and go straight to the Cash App and get your ticket. Just hit that. Have your $30 ready. Or if you don't want to, if you can't come to the meet and greet, then just give a donation. Okay. Now the drawing is the week before the meet and greet on the 21st. So the winner can make plans and stuff and be at the fight. But now, if you win the ticket and can't make the fight, then I'm gonna be up there in New York at the meet and greet. So I'll take the ticket and I'll go to the fight. You know, it won't be wasted, right? If you win it. Okay. So keep that in mind. Okay. Passports will sit in your seat for you. Okay, if you like, South did have a mixed martial arts career too. Let's talk about that. Now, Toney was spotted in attendance at UFC 108 on January 2nd, 2010, which led to talks between him and UFC president Dana White regarding fighting in the organization. And on March 3rd, it was confirmed by Dana White that him and Lights Out had agreed and signed a multi-fight deal with the company. And Toney was 42 at that time. Okay, he was 42 at that time. He was still boxing actively. He was in the middle. Remember, he took a break from 2009 to 2011. So he was in the middle of that when he went to MMA. So okay, he had one fight. It was against Randy Couture. Toney versus Couture, UFC. I went backwards. Yeah. What if I want to see him in? Wait a minute now. Here with me. I went backwards. Okay, yeah, UFC. Yeah, there's him and Randy Couture. Right. Yeah, boxers, stay away from that cage, man. Look at Lights Out, man. Randy Couture submitted him. Submitted Lights Out. Damn. What's going on past that? Yeah, boxers, stay away from that cage, man. Damn, I guess we can look at it. It ain't gonna be long. Toney versus Couture, UFC 118. Now, Toney's debut fight was against UFC Hall of Famer and former UFC heavyweight and light heavyweight champion, Randy Couture. This was at UFC 118 on August 28th, 2010. And remember, he was on a break from boxing. He took off 2 years between 2009 and 2011. So he went to the UFC, went up against the Hall of Famer. Now, Couture scored a takedown against Toney early in the first round and went on to submit him with an arm triangle choke. Okay, is that it there? I think that might be the arm triangle choke right there. Yeah, damn. Okay, that's enough. I like stuff, man. That's enough of that. Okay, yeah. Couture submitted him with an arm triangle choke. Toney was subsequently released from his contract with UFC. Remember, he signed the multi-fight deal, but I guess after that, you know, Lights Out went back to Dana White. He said, nah, you can cancel that multi-fight deal. After that arm triangle choke, Lights Out said, hell with that. You know, but anyway, he went back to boxing. We covered that, right? But anyway, he got out of that multi-fight deal, okay? Dana White released him from it. Now, the fight achieved notoriety, though. It drew criticisms of being a freak show fight, among them by UFC President Dana White himself. But Toney made $500,000 and Couture made $250,000. So he made more than the UFC guy made, okay? Mm-hmm. And then, guess what? He scheduled another fight. Let's talk about that. Ken Shamrock. In the aftermath of his loss and release from his UFC contract, Toney stated he would 100% compete in MMA again, saying he would fight regardless if it was not in the UFC. He would later be attached to a mixed rules venture fight against MMA pioneer and UFC veteran Ken Shamrock, scheduled for November 2011. In October 2011, the event was canceled and the fight never materialized beyond that. Thank God. So he never did have that second fight in UFC, only that one. He scheduled a second one against Ken Shamrock, but it fell through. Okay. So UFC 118 was Toney's only appearance in mixed martial arts. And there you have it. The life and career of James Lights Out Toney. Legendary 29-year career. 92 professional fights for Lights Out. Okay. He won 77 of them, just 10 losses, 3 draws, 2 no contests, 47 by way of knockout. First ballot International Boxing Hall of Famer, 2-time winner of Fighter of the Year. Okay. 4 division champion, but he was stripped at heavyweight, but he did win heavyweight. He had middleweight, super middleweight, he had cruiserweight, and heavyweight, but he got stripped of heavyweight. James Lights Out Toney. Now let's talk about some of the other guys, big time fighters around Lights Out time. We got a little time. Talk about some other fighters that excelled in the same era where Lights Out was fighting in. Okay. Let's talk about some of some boys. Okay. There it is right there. I love it when a plan comes together. I don't have no pictures. I'm sorry. But these are like from the 90s into the 2000s, something like that. Toney outlasted all of them. Most of these guys was long gone. Lights Out was still around in 2017. Yup. Still around, doing his thing. 2017. Okay. Ranking 10 of the greatest boxers of the 1990s. Now, it was the 1990s. Now, unless you were a laid-off manufacturing worker in the United States or a displaced campesino in Mexico, the economy seemed to be firing on all cylinders. Military intervention was still sporadic and rare enough that middle-class Americans could usually completely ignore it. It was the best of the 1950s and the 1960s combined. Hip-hop was yet to be commercialized for the most part. In rock and roll, anybody who mattered was ripping off Neil Young, which made for a mini golden age. Yeah, rock and roll, they were stealing all the Neil Young stuff back in the 90s. Remember? Neil Young was talented. Everybody was using his music, his words. Neil probably made a lot off of that. Man, what's the word? I forgot. They'd have to pay you to use your stuff, you're an entertainer or something. Royalties. Yeah, Neil probably made more off royalties than he did off the actual work when he was performing. And it was a terrific era for boxing. The heavyweight division was still high profile and contained a deep roster of talent. Yeah, in the 90s, heavyweight was still rolling strong. The sport was full of great fighters from the lightest weight classes up. So much so that to narrow down a list to just 10 required leaving off fighters who are Hall of Famers and among all the all-time best in the division. Yeah, a lot of people will get left off. Number 10, Evander Holyfield. We're talking about some of the great fighters around the time that Lights Out performed. How about Evander Holyfield? Now Booker said poor Lights Out. He had a great legendary career though. He really did. I think next week is Don King. Hold on, excuse me for a second. Yeah, the profile next week. No, it's Vladimir Klitschko. Don King is the week after that. We're going to do Don King and Bob Arum back-to-back weeks profiles. Vladimir Klitschko next week. Okay, or Vitaly, one of the Klitschko brothers. Might be both of them, who knows. Now, by the time the 1990s began, Evander Holyfield had already established himself as possibly the greatest cruiserweight of all time. And he had engaged in a legendary war with the white Muhammad Ali. But by the time 1990s was over, Holyfield had captured the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world by stopping Buster Douglas, the man who had shocked the world by knocking out Mike Tyson in Tokyo in February of that same year, 1990. Yeah, Buster Douglas was not nowhere near the same fighter as fought Tyson. That Buster Douglas would have been a problem. Because it wasn't just Tyson not being in shape and taking him lightly. That Buster Douglas, man, was real. The one that fought Tyson, man, he was a big heavyweight. He had a great jab, man, and he was not intimidated, man. And that jab, Tyson couldn't get past it. He really couldn't. He got inside and dropped him and had some success, but for the most part, Buster kept that jab in his face, taking speeds, angles, levels, everything, man. But the Buster Douglas that fought Mike Tyson, unfortunately, we never saw him again. They said between the Tyson and Holyfield fights, he ballooned up to 400 pounds. You never saw him again. That Buster would have been a problem for Riddick Bowe, Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, all of them, I think. Yeah. Go back and look at Tyson. It wasn't just Tyson being taken it lightly. Buster was on point that night. Confident, man. He came in that fight planning on winning it. He was about the only one, but he did win it. Okay. The Holyfield versus Tyson was the fight everybody was looking forward to as 1991 began. But in July of 1991, Tyson was arrested for rape. He ended up serving 4 years in prison. And the fight with Holyfield didn't occur until November 1996. 5 years they had to wait. Now, when Buster ruined the first one, we would have got it in 1990, but Buster didn't get the memo that he was supposed to have been a tune-up for Tyson to fight Holyfield. Buster messed it up. So we didn't get Tyson Holyfield until 96. But when it did happen, Holyfield surprised a lot of fans by bullying Tyson on the inside and beating him up before winning by an 11th round TKO. And you know what happened in the rematch? Holyfield again employed the same aggressive head-first tactics as in the first fight. And Tyson lost his composure. Bit Holyfield not once, twice. Second time bit part of it off. That was one of boxing's most unfortunate moments in boxing history. Okay? We're talking about some of the great fighters that fought in the era that Lights Out fought in. How about Felix Trinidad? BN Boxing News, salute. What's up, BN Boxing News? We James Lights Out Toney was the profile. We finished a little early, so talking about some of the other great fighters that fought in his era. Evander Holyfield. Now, how about Felix Tito Trinidad? Fought around that time. During the 1990s, Felix Tito Trinidad made a dominant run as the IBF welterweight champion, establishing himself as one of the most popular stars in the entire sport. Among the fighters he beat, Hector Camacho and Pernell Whitaker. He beat Oscar De La Hoya in a WBC IBF unification fight in one of the most hotly contested decisions of the past 25, 30 years. And we always thought we was going to get that rematch, but we never got it. Felix and Oscar, they owed us a rematch because their first one was very controversial decision, but we never got the rematch. Now, Trinidad was a dangerous two-fisted puncher. He applied pressure relentlessly and had killer finishing instincts. We got up off that mat, it was on. You knock Felix down, he get up off the mat, it's on then. In addition to his punching power, Trinidad had a lot of physical strength at welterweight. He would make for an interesting matchup to consider with any of the all-time greats at 147. Tito. How about Lennox Lewis? Fought in that era. Lennox the Lion. Remember? Yeah. Lennox came into the new millennium as an undisputed champion. 2 belt though. I don't think 3 belt. WBA, WBC, IBF. They didn't start recognizing the WBO till 2004, the other big three. Excuse me. Although they came in 1988, but the WBC didn't give their okay. The WBC gave their okay. The WBA and IBF jumped right in there behind. So 2004, the WBO became one of the big ones. Started to be 4 belt. And when did B-Hop become the first one? 2005, was it? Somewhere around in there. I think it was 2005. But Lennox the Lion Lewis. Let's touch on him real quick. Lennox the Lion Lewis. Okay. Lennox Lewis was the top heavyweight in one of history's best decades for heavyweight. In the 90s was pretty good. He lost only one fight during the entire decade of the 90s. That was to Oliver McCall, when he got caught and knocked out in the second round. They won the rematch by stoppage in round 5. Everybody knew about the rematch. Remember, Oliver broke down. We still don't know what happened. The man broke down crying. They had to stop the fight because the man couldn't stop crying. Nobody still don't know what happened. Is Oliver still living? Somebody need to go ask him what the hell was going on with him, man. Now, Lewis won a version of the title in 1992 and routinely beat tough contenders in decisive fashion. Among the fighters he beat during the 90s were Donovan Razor Ruddock, Ray Mercer, the Duke, Tommy Morrison, and Shannon Briggs. In March 1999, Lewis finally got the chance to fight the decade's other top heavyweight, Evander Holyfield. Yeah, Lewis came away with a very controversial draw. Clearly deserved to win that fight. It was one of the 2 or 3 worst decisions of the decade. But he did get the rematch, and he won the rematch. Yeah, that was a crazy. They had that woman, Robin Bird, Adelaide Bird. Man, I swear, one round, Lewis outscored Holyfield like 50 punches to 4 or something. This lady gave the round to Holyfield. They're like, what in the world was you doing? Your nails doing around with something, lady? Yes. I mean, Holyfield landed in single digits. Lewis had like 30 or 40 punches landed. And on her card, she gave the round to Holyfield, man. That was crazy. That was crazy. Okay, how about Oscar De La Hoya? He was bad around that time, like Southport, down in the lower, well, not really that low. Now, Oscar De La Hoya was the last of a breed for boxing in the United States. An Olympic star who entered the professional game with a tremendous amount of anticipation and buzz. The Golden Boy grabbed the spotlight in Barcelona, Spain in 1992 when he won that gold medal, and he never gave it up. Oh, yes, he did. He gave it up to Floyd, but he lost that fight. Floyd gave up everything during the fight to make it, but that's how you're supposed to do it. You know, you believe in yourself, dare to be great, and then Floyd went in there and won the fight and became the face of boxing. By March 1994, the Golden Boy was the WBO super featherweight champion, and by July of the same year, he had moved up to lightweight to capture the WBO title from Jorge Paez. Okay? So De La Hoya beat an impressive group of challengers defending the lightweight belt, including Rafael Ruelas and Gennaro Hernandez, the great Gennaro Hernandez. In June 1996, Oscar moved up to junior welterweight and captured the WBC 140-pound belt by stopping the legendary Julio Cesar Chavez on cuts in 4 rounds. That was old Julio, but Oscar might have beat him prime versus prime if they could have ever had a matchup like that, Oscar and Julio. Oscar might get it. He very well might. But he did beat him. Now, Oscar moved up to welterweight and beat another pound-for-pound legend, Colonel Whitaker, in April 1997. I don't know about that one, but yeah, Oscar got the nod. Oscar gave Ike Corte his first professional loss in February 1999. And the following September, Oscar suffered his own first loss against Felix Trinidad. Still hotly debated decision. I was just debating it a few minutes ago, remember? Right now in 2025, that Oscar Tito fight is still debated. But Tito got the win. Shane Mosley was pretty good around that time. Al Booker said, I'm impressed he was able to balloon up to 400. Oh, I knocked the chat out. Come on back. There it is. Al Booker said, I'm impressed he was able to balloon up to 400 pounds. That's an accomplishment in itself. Yes, it is, Al Booker. Yeah. Buster put on all that weight, man, and then he was never the same after that, you know. I think he might have won some more fights after that, but nothing noteworthy. He lost to Holyfield, and that was it for him. But that Tyson fight, man, that's why his name is still known to this day. That was one of the biggest upsets in sports, not just boxing, sports. I remember that, man. We went to work the next day. People you didn't even know watch boxing was talking about. People that didn't even watch boxing was talking about that fight. Like Tyson lost last night. You watch boxing? Then the next fight I asked him, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Somebody else for it. It was just the Mike Tyson fight, you know. Yeah. But anyway, Shane Mosley. Talking about Shane? Yeah. Now, although many of Sugar Shane's most high-profile fights occurred during the first decade of this century, in the 2000s, at welterweight and junior middleweight, during the 1990s, Shane Mosley compiled a resume that earned him consideration for the greatest lightweight of all time. Mosley was a large, powerful lightweight and eventually outgrew the weight class. Yeah, he was a big 135 pounds, Shane was. Kind of like, probably should have been at 140, you know? He had enough power to carry it all the way up to 147 and 154, right? So he was often overpowering at 135. Yeah, Sugar Shane was kind of like weight bullying. Hate to say it, but yeah, he should have been at 140 then. But he went all the way to 154. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We just talked about a few fighters that fought during the period. How about Ricardo Lopez, man? One of my favorites. Determining exactly where to rate Ricardo Lopez is a bit of a challenge. He spent his entire career at 105 and 108. That's why nobody don't know much about him, because he was way down there. And the number of top quality opponents is simply smaller there than it is at the higher weight class. And Lopez never fought the other two best flyweights of his era, Michael Carvajal or Humberto Gonzalez. You know why? He never fought those. Wins over those two fighters would elevate the quality of his career. But based on his perfect record in the eyeball test, Lopez has to rank high on any list of the best fighters of the 1990s. A student of Hall of Fame trainer Nacho Beristain, Lopez was a near-perfect boxer in terms of execution in the ring. And Ricardo never lost a boxing match in his life, amateur or professional. Never lost. He had one draw as a professional, but he was undefeated as an amateur and a professional. The man literally never experienced losing. Okay? And Joe Louis is the only one to be champion for an entire decade, the 40s, but Ricardo Lopez was champion for the entire 90s till like October, November of 99. Then he vacated to move up. So if he had wanted to, he could have been champion for the entire decade of the 90s, but he vacated. He went to 108 and won a title up there. So he missed by a few months of matching Joe Louis. And Ricardo had like 20 straight title defenses. Too bad, man. Professional record, 51 wins, no losses, one draw. And he did avenge that loss to the man he lost to. He did eventually beat him. Okay? He did eventually beat him. I appreciate the Jay Hard. Yeah, Jay says it's impossible not to learn here. I'm learning too, Jay. Okay, Sweet Pea. You talking about great fighters of the 90s? How can you not mention Pernell Whitaker? How can you not mention Sweet Pea, right? Pernell Whitaker started the decade, well, it started in the 80s, but, you know, because he won that gold medal in 84, remember? But he started the decade of the 1990s as the reigning IBF and WBC lightweight champion. And by the end of the year of 1990, he added the WBA strap. And he was undisputed at 135, right? 3 belts. But, you know, remember, WBO wasn't recognized then. So he had WBA, WBA, IBF, and WBC. He was undisputed at 135. Now, during the 1990s, Pernell Whitaker built a case for himself as an all-time great at both lightweight and welterweight, right? And he also won titles at 140 and 154, 40 division champion, he was. Now, Whitaker is on anybody's short list for the greatest defensive fighter of all time. He used his dazzling defensive skills to dominate fights. Between him and Willie Pep. Okay, I got Willie Pep 1, 3P2, Floyd 3, Nicolino Loach 4. Lights Out is up there too, believe it or not. James Toney might be number 5 when you talk about defense. Now, P lost in 1997 to Austin De La Hoya, and in 1999 to Felix Trinidad. Whitaker turned professional in 1984. And by the end of the 1990s, he had lost a step. But his performance over the first half of the 90s earns him a spot real high on this list. Okay, he was number 3. Okay, number 2, B-Hop, Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins, number 2 for the 90s. Okay, and yeah, Melanie Queen is telling you everything about the meet and greet we got coming up in 3 weeks from today. Okay, into the raffle. The drawing is on February 21st. 1 ticket for Javante Davis versus Lamont Roach, right? $10 for the single entry. Get that block special. $25 will get you 3 chances, right? And just hit that cash app to come to the meet and greet, or get your tickets. Get the $10 ticket, get your block special, or the $30 to the meet and greet. Just hit that link and it'll take you to the cash app. And if you can't come, just make a donation. Donate $10, $15, $30, $100. Whatever you can spare. It's going to a good cause, and we will appreciate it. But if you can pull up, because it's going to be a lot of fun, and you can win prizes at the event too, and some good food. Like I said, just ask Senior. Senior's still talking about the food from the last meet and greet last summer. Senior's still here. He gonna get me. Okay, let me continue. Where was I? B-Hop. Yeah, but it's gonna be a great time. A great time. Don't miss it. Amazingly, at 48 years old, Bernard Hopkins is he was a champion at 175, and then at 49, he broke his own record, right, and became champion again. And that's the record, 49. Okay, he broke George Foreman's record when he was 46, and then he broke his own record 2 times. Bernard Hopkins. He lost just once during the 90s. That was to Roy Jones. And B-Hop was an extremely focused and disciplined individual. And he wasn't above, but the referee was on the other side doing some shenanigans, like hitting low or headbutting or something. Yeah. The referee couldn't see it. You had to watch B-Hop. Now, B-Hop got arguably better as the 1990s went along, even when he got up into his 40s, even when he got into his 50s. He fought till 52, remember? So number 1 for the 90s, y'all know who it is. Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. Number 1 fighter for the 1990s. Like B-Hop, Roy has insisted now Roy kind of went too far because, by the time we got up into the 2000s, Roy looked nothing like the Roy that was back in the 90s. He only lost once in the 90s, remember? And that was a disqualification because he hit Montel Griffin after Griffin had taken a knee. And it was accidental. But, they disqualified him. But guess what? In the next fight, he knocked Montel out in the first round. He avenged it, And back in the 90s, Roy was just turned into some of the most electrifying performances in the history of boxing. His athletic advantages allowed him to dominate fights with an aesthetic flair rarely accomplished. He turned professional fall in 1988 Olympics, where he suffered the worst judging decision in Olympic history, right? Boxing history, amateur or professional, right? In May 1993, he beat B-Hop for the vacant IBF middleweight title. That was B-Hop's only loss in the 90s, remember? In November 1994, Roy went up to super middleweight and captured the IBF belt from James Toney. And by the end of the 90s, Jones would reign as IBF, WBA, and WBC light heavyweight champion. For the entire decade, he lost that one fight, disqualification to Montel Griffin, 1997. Won the rematch by first round knockout. And I forgot what I was getting ready to say, but it was about Roy. I forgot. But yeah, that was some of the other great fighters of the 90s where Lights Out performed. Next Friday is Vladimir Klitschko. And then the next couple weeks after that, we're going to do Don King one week, then we're going to do the Bob Father the next week. We're going to profile their life and careers, Because, like, love them or hate them, they have been very significant figures in this sport. They have brought us some great fights over the years, and still bringing them. They both 93 years old. I think Don King's birthday is in August, and the Father's December, I believe. They just like a couple months apart. Ain't that something? Them two old fossils, the exact same age, 93, still going, right? Yeah, but both of them have brought us some very significant fights. They've both been very significant figures in this sport, man. Don King and Bob Arum. Yes, they have. You know, love them or hate them. And back in the day, man, they couldn't stand each other, but they would get together and make those fights. When it came to that money, they put their differences aside and worked together. Yes, they did. Mm-hmm. They some great fight cards back in the day. Yep. I think Bob Father was like, Bob Father go back to the 60s. He didn't have top rank, but he was with, I think it was main belt promotion. With the Nation of Islam company, and Bob Father was like a lawyer or something for the company, right? And then 74, I think he formed Top Rank, went out on his own, and the rest is history. 2025, Bob Father's Top Rank still going strong with Bob Father still at the top of it. 51 years later, man, incredible. Don King still doing a little something. A little something. He's still out there. But Don made some big fights over the years too. And the way Don would get you, he would like during that time he had Tyson. Tyson was a cash cow and fighters would cash in on that Tyson fight. But Don King would say, hold up. You're gonna get this big money Tyson fight. But I'm assigned you're gonna owe me 2 more after the Tyson fight. That's how Don did it. Don killed a couple of people too. Mm-hmm. I think he did a couple of years in prison, but not much. One of them, he didn't do any because he said he killed and the guy was trying to rob him or something. Mm-hmm. From Cleveland, out there where BVO from, yeah. BVO say he see Don King all the time riding around in that cart. You know how to get those carts in those stores like Walmart and places. He see Don King in there riding around in the cart and stuff. Yeah. The Don. Now Booker says Bob is chief. Let me see. Chief Erde. The Bob Father. Yeah. Appreciate you, Jay Hardcore. Jay Hardcore and gave me a super chat, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, Jay, I don't think I ever told you I got my monetization back. All I had to do was send a picture of my license. They wanted a picture of some kind of ID. All that time. I was looking at it and I hit something and it said, take a picture of the front and back of your license and send it to us. I did that and like the next day I had it back. But I appreciate you, Jay Hardcore, with the super chat. Yep, and don't forget the meet and greet. Yeah, I gotta call you, Jay, because that commercial I was playing, I still got the one talking about the special for the $20. I didn't want to play that because I played it a couple of times. The special is over with, so I was like, no. But I carry the other one in by Monday. Okay. Yeah, them other ones, I can't fit that format. I don't know how to bring it down to the right. I need MP4. Jay always send me the right format, So I'm gonna call you later on. See if you can email that to me. But it's Friday. We're at another big week of boxing history. I appreciate everybody for coming through. Just Do Boxing up next with that balanced, unbiased boxing talk. And then Sunday we'll begin another big week of JBT. We'll start off with Jay Hardcore at 8. I think Sunday the Rise podcast is at 12. We got the Old Timers show at 8. And then Monday through Friday, Jay Hardcore at 8 with the Hangout. Cast Sports at 2. Just Do Boxing at 4. The Mighty Rise podcast at 9. Wednesdays 10 a.m. Let's Talk Fashion. Friday nights at 10 p.m. We got the Angry White Men, William Old School of Rent and D1. Yeah, D1 will be at the meet and greet too, one of the Angry White Men. Yeah. I don't think Old School coming all the way from Louisiana. No. Thomas Hill can come from California. Old School can come from Louisiana. Right? But yeah, it's going to be a great time though. Make sure you're there. $30 will get you a ticket, and you might win that ticket to the fight. You know? Somebody's going to win it, right? It could be you. Who knows? It's going to be somebody. $30. Or you can get it for $10 if you don't come to the meet and greet. $10 will get you one ticket. And $25 will get you the block special. 3. And you know, we done gave away some great prizes, man. A TV. We gave away some Kaniki Bear headphones, an air fryer, Ninja air fryer. And now what happened, man? Damn, I done went to the rock and roll. Sorry. Sorry. And we gave away Christmas. The guy won $700 4 days before Christmas. And guess what? It was his birthday. It was his birthday, man. Yeah. And so now somebody gonna get to see the Javante Tank Davis fight. Yeah. Probably be somebody that get a $10 ticket. The $10 entry, you know? Yeah. But JBT, just boxing talk. That's all it is. You know? Just a group of people who love to talk boxing. That's all. It's just boxing talk. But I'm gonna get ready to get up out of here now. Get out of Just Do Boxing's way. He always got something good for us. You know? Balanced, biased. Both sides get equal attention from Just Do. Because everybody gets to Just Do and Just Do Boxing. He got the perfect name, you know? And we are looking good in the looking okay in the lead up to the meet and greet financially. We still got 3 weeks to go. And like I said, if you can't make it, just give a donation. Okay? Whatever you can afford. We would appreciate it's going to a good cause, to that JBT. We all members of it, you know. Everybody in here. Okay. And oh yeah, I didn't tell some great prizes at the event too. We got some great door prizes once you get to the event. And they're good food. Let's go to the Rise podcast and ask Senior about the food. Okay. And I hope everybody have a great weekend. Who's fighting tomorrow, by the way? We got fights tomorrow. And we 2 weeks away from the rematch, Bivol and Beterbiev. Keyshawn and the guy from Ukraine, what's his name, Dennis? Fights this month, right? But that card, Beterbiev and Bivol, is full of main events, man. Wow. That is a great card. I think this time, it's going to be a good fight. Bivol just got to go for it, man, you know. He can't let Beterbiev slow his output down. He just got to let his hands go. If he get caught and get knocked out, he just gets knocked out. Because if he get hesitant to get in them late rounds, he's going to lose again, you know. I know Beterbiev hits hard, and it might not look like he's throwing hard, but them things be landing hard. You know how they go blop. They leather on skin. Beterbiev is something blop. You know, and Bivol just said, hell with that. And those championship rounds, his output slowed up dramatically. And that's a perfect example of it. Offense being a good defense. And every time Bivol had a little success and was scoring, Beterbiev would just start throwing hands, man. And that's discouraging. You landing on a guy like that, then all of a sudden he just landed them haymakers back on you. What do? You know? But it was a great fight. And we're looking for another great one. And just in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 8th, 15th, 22nd. I think Define Arnie told me yesterday. Let me look it up real quick for tomorrow. We got a good fight coming tomorrow too. Can't remember who it was, but it's a pretty good fight. I can't get this damn thing to work. There it is, boxing schedule. Boxing schedule. There we go. I'll have it in a minute. We're going to look at that, and then we're going to get up out of here. But I appreciate everybody coming through today. Hope you enjoyed the show. We got another big week of boxing history coming up next week. Okay. We're Tuesday, we got the junior bantamweight division. The profile next week is Vladimir Klitschko, and boxing in the States Thursday is Ohio. No, after Oklahoma, we did Ohio, Oregon. I don't know what kind of history they got, but I'm going to find it. Okay, by next Thursday, we're going to be talking about the history of boxing in Oregon. Okay, and some other significant events that happened in the state. We're going to talk about some boxers from Oregon. Got to be somebody from Oregon that fought, right? Amateur or something. Here we go. Here's the schedule. Let's look at it right quick. Tomorrow is the 8th, right? Oh, yeah. Derek Chisora, that's right. That's who it was. And Otto Wallen, that's tomorrow. Yeah, from Manchester, England. Okay, Derek Chisora. Yeah, that's the big one of the weekend. Derek Chisora versus Otto Wallen, heavyweights. Card got a lot of UK fighters on the card. Yeah. Okay, Keyshawn and then what is I don't know how to pronounce the name. You know who I'm talking about. Their fight is next Friday, on a Friday. Okay. A week from today, there's Thomas Hill. I didn't even know you was in here, Thomas Hill. Oh. There's Thomas Hill. Yeah, Keyshawn, their fight is next Friday. A week from today, okay. That'll be a good one. He's guy from Ukraine is fundamental. I was just talking about those Eastern European fighters Wednesday, remember? Those guys are fundamentally sound, and they are not going to beat themselves, okay? They're not going to make no whole bunch of mistakes. So you got to go in there. You got to be on point. Keyshawn, I got Keyshawn pulling it out, but he's going to have to be on point, okay? It ain't going to be like that last guy throwing old wide hooks and stuff and get taken out. This Ukrainian guy ain't going to do that. He just not. Okay, they are fundamentally sound, man. Okay, so that's next Friday. What's his name? Barinchek? I don't know, but you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, him and Keyshawn is next week on a Friday. Friday night fights. All right. That's a Bob Father joint too. Told you. Bob Father's still doing it. Started in 1974. Yeah, this is 2025. Still putting them on for us. And Don King doing a little something on the side. Dennis. There it is. Damn, I spelled it all wrong. I got N-E something. BERINCHYK. There it is. That's who I was talking about. Get in there. Next Friday, that fight. But okay, it's the weekend. I'll be back Monday. Hope y'all can join me Monday for another Cast Sports, okay? Because if it's Monday through Friday at 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Just Do Boxing is straight ahead. This is Cast Sports. Appreciate y'all. Everybody have a great weekend. And I will see y'all around those JBT streets. Come on, thing. Oh, sorry.